The lights went out across Cuba again. More than 10 million people were suddenly left in the dark after the country's national electric grid collapsed for the second time in just a week. What followed was not just another blackout. It's a stark reminder of a crisis that has been building for years. And the crisis sits at the intersection of energy, politics, and obviously survival. The latest collapse began last Saturday evening when a major power plant in Nuvitas in eastern Cuba went offline. Within minutes, the entire grid failed. Hospitals and water systems were given priority as authorities tried to restore power. But for most Cubans, darkness continued. This was not an isolated event. Cuba's grid has been struggling for months. Long blackouts, sometimes lasting 15 hours in Havana and over 40 hours in other regions, have become part of daily life. In fact, this was the third major outage in a single month. At the heart of the problem lies an aging energy infrastructure. Cuba lies on a network of thermoelectric plants. Many of them are over 40 years old. These plants break down frequently. They require constant maintenance, and they depend heavily on imported fuel. And right now, that fuel is running dangerously low.
The thermoelectric plants breaking down one after another, the lack of oil, the blockade. I don't know. In the end, those who are suffering are the people, the children, the mothers, the elderly, all suffering. Besides the fact there's no food, there are thousands of resources that don't exist in this country. Now, with these blackouts, the little food people have spoils, and you don't know what to do anymore. You don't know if you can buy food for a month, or for a week, or for a day, because you never know when the electricity will go out. One minute, everything is lit up, and the next minute, everything goes down.
The mention of the blockade points directly to one of the most critical factors behind Cuba's current crisis: the tightening of US sanctions, particularly on oil. To understand this, we need to step back. The US embargo on Cuba dates back to 1959, after the Cuban Revolution led by Fidel Castro. When the Cuban government nationalized American-owned assets, Washington responded with economic restrictions. Over time, especially during the Cold War, these restrictions expanded into a near total trade embargo aimed at isolating Cuba and limiting the spread of communism. Today, that decades-old policy has taken on a new and more aggressive form. In early 2026, the United States introduced measures specifically designed to choke off Cuba's fuel supply. Venezuelan oil, once a lifeline for Cuba, was cut off after political changes in Caracas. At the same time, Washington began pressuring other countries, threatening tariffs on anyone supplying oil to the island.
But I think Cuba see the end. You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time.
Fuel shipments have slowed to a trickle. Tankers carrying Russian oil have been closely tracked by anxious citizens, but even those deliveries remain uncertain. Since early January, Cuba has struggled to import enough fuel to keep its power plants running. And this is where the crisis deepens. Without fuel, electricity generation collapses. Without electricity, almost everything else begins to fail. Water systems stop working because pumps require power. In Havana, residents have been forced to collect water from tanker trucks, lining up with buckets and containers. Some carry water home by hand. Others rely on hoses stretched across streets.
Sometimes I have to carry the water myself. I am a 58-year-old woman and I'm no longer young enough to make that kind of effort. You understand? It is affecting my health and a solution needs to be found. We need to see what is happening. I will say it again. Our case has nothing to do with oil or with the impact that it is having on the country. Our problem has existed since 2021 and now it is 2026.
Her words highlight another layer of the crisis. Cuba's infrastructure problems did not begin with the latest sanctions. Aging pipelines, poor maintenance, and years of underinvestment have long affected water access. But the power crisis has made everything worse. Electricity is also critical for sanitation. Waste treatment facilities, hospitals, and refrigeration systems all depend on a stable power supply. Without it, food spoils quickly, medical services are disrupted, and basic hygiene becomes harder to maintain.
Once the power grid goes down, the circuit I live in is the last one to get its electricity restored. Consequently, when it comes to time to sleep, people really struggle, and not just me, but everyone in the circuit, because some people have to sleep with their balcony doors open or even with their front doors wide open, leaving themselves vulnerable to theft. Furthermore, when the power grid fails, social media networks go down as well. You have no idea what is happening in the country at that moment, and very few people are actually informed about what is going on.
The outages are not just technical failures, they are reshaping daily life. At the same time, Cuba's economy is under immense strain. Tourism, one of its main sources of income, has been hit hard, not only by global trends but also by fuel shortages that have forced airlines to reduce flights. Food imports are limited. Inflation is rising, and with restricted access to international financial systems, the country struggles to secure credit or investment. The government, led by President Miguel Diaz-Canel, has framed the situation as one of external pressure and national resistance.
Y el presidente de los Estados Unidos en una.
They apply the energy blockade that puts us in a more difficult situation. But we are not sitting with our arms crossed. First of all, we recognize that there could be an aggression against Cuba, and we have unleashed a preparation plan to raise our people's readiness for defense in the interest of the war of all the people, which is our defense concept and which is a defensive conception, not aggressive, and to defend the country with the preparation and the preparation of all the people in defense.
But inside the country, frustration is growing. Rare protests have broken out, with people banging pots and pans in Havana, and even attacking government offices in some towns. Demonstrations remain illegal, and those who participate risk arrest. All of this paints a complex picture. On one side, there is the impact of decades of sanctions, which is now intensified into a targeted effort to cut off fuel. On the other hand, there are internal challenges like an aging grid, economic mismanagement, and infrastructure that has struggled to keep up with modern demands. And for millions of Cubans, the struggle for survival is constant. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Take care and stay safe.